Late Night Health continues. I'm Mark Alyn. Join us at latenighthealth.com and be sure to like us on Facebook. Lots of information there. Facebook.com/latenighthealth. We go to the San Francisco Bay Area, actually Oakland, California, as we spend some time with Kari Hamerschlag. She's the Senior Program Manager of Food and Technology Program of Friends of the Earth. Kari, welcome to the Late Night Health.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Our pleasure. You know, with the way our life is in the 21st century, we're really just beginning the 21st century in the year 2015, we have a very fast-paced, hectic life. We are running from this place to that place. We have to take the kids to soccer or the grandkids to soccer. Lots of stuff to do, and food, eating, is just something that we have to do. Unless you're like me and I plan my vacations around what I'm going to eat in 3 months. But most people don't do that. Most people want to eat quickly, fast, and hopefully have it be healthy. Are we eating healthy in the United States in terms of fast food?
Oh, we are absolutely not eating healthy. I don't know if you heard the latest report from the Center for Disease Control, CDC, which found that 1 in 3 kids every single day is eating fast food in America. And sadly, you know, that number has not changed in the last 10 years. I think we are seeing healthier trends everywhere. And I am hopeful that we are moving in the right direction with a lot of changes out there in the marketplace. But that report that just came out really shocked me that, 1 in 3 kids, and then we know that, 1 in 3 kids is also overweight. So, I mean, I think, and facing all kinds of other health-related diseases, diabetes is on the rise. And other serious illnesses. So we have a serious problem in this country with the food that we're eating, and fast food restaurants are definitely a big part of the problem. And at Friends of the Earth, we really want to make restaurants part of the solution, because the fact of the matter is that nearly 50% of all the food dollars that we spend are going to, we're outsourcing our food to restaurants. So 50% of our food dollars are spent outside of our home. So it's really important that those restaurants are providing healthier, more sustainable food.
I was absolutely surprised by the 5 restaurant chains that passed. I wasn't so surprised about the ones that didn't pass. But the big one that passed was McDonald's. They don't have antibiotics in their foods?
Right, so we did this scorecard evaluating antibiotics policies in the top 25 restaurant chains, and McDonald's actually fared in the middle. They didn't get an A, they got a C. And the reason that they got a C and that they did pass, they didn't get an F like the other 20 restaurants, is because last year in March, actually this year, they adopted a new policy with respect to their chicken. Which is that they have made a commitment to stop sourcing poultry or chicken raised with antibiotics that are important in human medicine by 2016. And so they have a policy on the books. It's a pretty good policy. I think they're very serious about what they're doing. We've been in dialogue with McDonald's for the past year. Actually, we have been urging them to take a stronger position on this issue, this critical issue, and so they did. In March, they made this announcement, and we gave them a C because, unfortunately, their policy right now only applies to chicken. And I can't say that if you love McDonald's, if you're listening and you love McDonald's, I can't say for sure that you're going to be getting chicken raised without routine antibiotics, because the company hasn't told us yet
when they're going to do it. What about the beef?
So they've just made a commitment, and right now we're giving companies, credit for making these commitments, because it takes these companies, they have big supply chains, and it takes them, a long time to shift. But we feel like they're hearing. I mean, McDonald's is listening to their customers. They're losing market share right now. Their profits are down, and they realize that that people really do want better meat.
Well, so, a couple of years ago they came out with some kind of wrap, and it was a chicken wrap, and it said healthy, natural, and I thought that they had one that was semi-spicy. It wasn't bad, and was frankly cheap and fast. Okay, so I ate it, and then I stopped eating them when they stopped serving them, and I haven't been back since. My point is that I think they try to they're trying, as you said, but I thought it was illegal to sell poultry with antibiotics. I thought that had been passed by the FDA.
Well, you're probably thinking about hormones. So it is. It's actually illegal to sell any kind of meat that has traces of antibiotics in them. You're not supposed to sell meat with traces of antibiotics in them. The issue is more about producing meat with routine antibiotics. But in terms of hormones, so in addition to antibiotics, in addition to pumping, the animals with daily doses of antibiotics on these factory farms, which is the way 95% of the meat is raised in this country, they're also pumping other drugs, growth-promoting drugs, hormones for beef, and beta agonists, they call them growth promoters. Things like ractopamine go into pork and beef. And so those drugs are also in the beef and the pork, not the chicken. Unfortunately, the FDA has done very little to regulate the misuse of antibiotics in animal agriculture.
Well, the FDA needs to be restructured. We have talked about that many times here on Late Night Health, because they're not really concerned about the public, in my opinion. They are more concerned about the profits of pharmaceutical companies, etc. But we can talk about that. We could talk about. Oh, good, you agree. I could tell. Tell me, before we continue, tell me a little bit about Friends of the Earth. What's their charter? What's their mandate?
So Friends of the Earth is one of the oldest environmental organizations, national environmental organizations in the country. We're about 40 years old, founded by David Brower. We are about fighting for a just and sustainable world, defending our natural resources. We work on a whole range of issues, from clean energy to climate change, oceans and vessels, trying to clean up pollution in our waterways. And then we do a lot of work on food and agriculture, trying to promote a more just, healthier, sustainable food system, and particularly working on reforming the way that animal agriculture, reforming factory farms, trying to really clean up our food supply across the board and get pesticides and chemicals out of our food. We have really big problems with cancer in this country, and many people are convinced that the high rates of cancer, 1 in 2 men will get cancer, 1 in 3 women, are very much linked to the chemicals in our food supply and other products that we consume. So we're about trying to promote a healthier world, by investing in sustainable organic agriculture and other kinds of livestock systems that are going to be better for the planet, better for people's health.
And let's talk about Kari. You don't sound like a farmer. Tell me about your background.
So, I've been working on food policy for almost 30 years now. I started at the Institute for Food and Development Policy, Food First, with Frances Moore LePay and Joseph Collins. They were the founders. And Frances Moore LePay wrote Diet for a Small Planet, and she really was my inspiration. And I actually became a kind of a vegetarian eating fish back in the 80s, I guess.
Got it.
Because of my understanding about the impacts of our food choices on the environment. Meat requires a lot more resources than fruits and vegetables and plant-based proteins. So I've been at this for a very long time. I've worked internationally for 15 years, mostly in Latin America, and then for the last 15 years here, working on food and ag policy. I'm an avid organic gardener. I'm not a farmer. I've worked with a lot of farmers. We love farmers at Friends of the Earth, particularly those that are trying to grow food in ways that don't harm the planet and people and the animals. So we are trying to build support for the farmers out there that are really doing incredible work for us for very low pay. Farmers are just really amazing for what they do. So we want to support farmers, the good farmers, as much as we can.
Of course. We were just talking about cricket powder, okay, as a source of protein. Any comments on that?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think there's some amazing, new discoveries around much more sustainable sources of protein, and crickets are definitely one of them. And I know there's some cricket farms out there. They use very little water, very little energy. I mean, it's really
what do crickets eat? I don't know.
I believe they eat bugs.
But they are a bug.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I haven't actually visited a cricket farm, but I know they're much more sustainable than other forms of animal protein. So I think it's a good thing, and I've certainly eaten my share of cookies that have been made with cricket flour, and they taste just like regular cookies.
I was at the Natural Products Association event in March of this year, and there was a chocolatier who used cricket powder. And I ate one, and then I surprised my wife with some dark chocolate. And then I told her what was in it. She wasn't overly happy with me. But I guess we just have to understand that this is a cheap, effective, efficient way of getting the protein that we all need.
Yeah, I think people are going to have to come to grips, particularly those of us that live in California, with the fact that, eating a lot of dairy and beef is just not sustainable for our future. It's taking water really away from our kids and their kids, because we are running out of water. We are depleting our groundwater so rapidly, and about a quarter of that water in California is going to animals, going to dairy and going to other, beef and other animals. So we don't need those animals. I think people should, enjoy their meat, particularly sustainable, meat that's raised sustainably, but know that we all have to reduce what we're eating. And I think a lot of people are getting that. You're reading about that now everywhere, whereas 5 years ago, I think people didn't really talk about it.
Right. I wanted to talk about GMOs too, and we still have to talk about some of the failures, like Subway, who have gotten an F from the survey and the report scorecard. GMOs, I would imagine you would like GMO labeling as much as we here at Late Night Health would?
Yeah, absolutely. We are fighting very hard right now to defeat something we call the DARK Act, the Deny America Right to Know Act in D.C. It's in Congress right now that the chemical companies are pushing.
Yeah, Monsanto, thank you. Hey, Kari, we're going to take a time out. We'll come back. We have some more time to spend together. I look forward to that, and we'll talk more about this as Late Night Health continues. Is that all right?
Okay, great.
Okay, good. Our guest from the Friends of the Earth is Kari Hamerschlag, the Senior Program Manager, Food and Technology. I'm Mark Alyn. Join us at latenighthealth.com, latenighthealth.com.